And hello there. This is Joe from Biggest Geekus hosting Gatekeepers at the very last minute. If there's anybody in there, can you let me know that you can hear me? That's the only way I'm going to know. Bruce and I had a back and forth. Bruce from the Gatekeepers. Hello, Sheris. We thought it would be a good idea to talk about communism. What do you think? It's not exactly a gaming topic, but we were having fun with joking about communists and communism. Anyway, until he shows up, because he showed an interest in participating as well as I thought that I would talk about something that we had on Biggest Geekus last night. This is a slightly different flavor. Hello, Hungry Ewok. We talked about verisimilitude on our podcast, so you should check us out if you're interested in that. Kind of a juxtaposition between that and realism and various related topics. And during that conversation, I was talking about how I thought about immersion. And yes, Max does call D&D 3E Kami role-playing, and I get his point. Everybody's the same with a different coat of paint. Dwarf paint or elf paint. Immersion, for some people, means you must speak in the first person when you are representing your character at the table. I go back and forth between first person and third person, mostly third person. I think of the game going on in my head. I don't really care about play acting my character out, even though according to even the player's handbook, which I looked at this morning, or not this morning, a little while ago, regarding play acting, it does kind of suggest that's what you should do, but that's just not the way I am. So I just usually refer to it, my character, as say my character named Butch. I say Butch does this and Butch does that, or my character does this, that, or the other thing, unless we're in a strictly role-playing situation, which then I suppose I mostly say I or me. So, but that's me, and there will be people who disagree, who want you to be in first person, in character, strictly. As soon as you your butt hits your seat, you're in character. But that's to me, that's too much story time for me. To me, it's primarily a game with some role playing thrown in. What say the chat? Let's see. Oh, let's see. So Doof Money can't wait for us to come up with a topic, which I'm still grasping at straws. No pressure, except talking about how I play. I play kind of aggressively. If there's something that's obvious to do, I just jump in there and do it. If nobody has their character do anything, I'll go do it. It doesn't matter what it is. Jump in a pool of water, eat something that's obviously probably a trap or whatever. Cool mechanics that were a disaster in play. Not sure. What? Nothing comes to mind. Really. Disaster. I've played games where the mechanics are like, oh, this is cool, and then you play and you're like, but not disaster. But if somebody has a good mechanic that they can call to mind that does that, and I remember it, I can talk about it. I find, according to Sheris, and again, welcome Sheris, I find that having nonstop RPing and no out of character chat taxing. Yeah, yeah. Um, for me, it's not about having a little play. I like my play is rolling the dice and kicking monsters' butts and taking their stuff, so to speak. But right. Let's see what else is happening in chat here. You all should talk about a revolutionary mechanic called armor defeating hits. Oh yeah, that's in what's that game called? Earth Dawn. Yeah, I was trying to remember that earlier, talking to my wife. But yeah, armored. I haven't got to that part of the book. I've just skimmed it a little, so that's interesting. It's kind of like a natural 20. It doesn't matter what the armor class is. You hit, although it doesn't, and you do, and depending on what version, you might do more damage. But if they have enough damage resistance or hit points, it may not make a huge difference. Doof Money, what are your thoughts on knowledge checks? I have gone the gamut of I have a skill on my sheet, I should be able to use it, to realizing it's not okay. Disaster. All right. I wouldn't call a knowledge check a revolutionary mechanic, but leading with the skill check instead of leading with what your character is doing and then determining the outcome of a skill check or whether a skill check is even required or whatever. That was a disaster, I think, for the hobby, because now everybody wants to just not even really walk into the room. The DM says this is the situation, and everybody says, "Oh, knowledge check," or "Oh, perception check," or "Oh, blah 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 check," and that's really bad for the hobby. I think bad experience at the table. I think because it's much more interesting for your character to walk into the room and manipulate things and walk across the floor, and then it's great for the DM to say, "Oh, you walked across that floor tile. You fall through a pit. Ha ha ha." Or you have to make perhaps a check of some kind to avoid your certain doom. And then that's a lot more interesting than I rolled an 18. What do I find? Blip, blip, blip. So I'm sure some people really prefer that to being highly descriptive of their actions, because that might be boring to them perhaps, or maybe they just want to roll dice and not worry about that stuff. But I find it as tedious as let's all talk in character nonstop. Burst dice. Does that have something to do with Earth Dawn? I have not heard of that. That's from Sheris. According to Violence Solves Everything, in college, I grew to hate running games for a while because of dealing with the local game club, where people talk about immersion and theater of the mind, art of role playing, and other BS. Yeah, theater of the mind is all right, but I will argue with anyone that they don't know what's going on at any given moment in their theater of the mind to any degree that's useful, except that we're here in the room. And not much better than that. And the DM usually just makes a judgment call about everything, which is fine, I guess. But immersion for me is the imagination, the running kind of thing that's going on in my mind while we're playing about the play. So, and I'm sure everybody does the same thing. You've got your scenario that's happening, and the DM's describing everything, and then in your mind you've got a little movie going on or whatever, and that's immersion for me. And then I'll play in character sometimes, and not other times, and then I don't get hung up and don't want other people at the table to get hung up on it, because we'll have a bad time, I think. Right, Shawner. I know Shawner Films. I got sick of wargamers at the role play table. Well, um, if all you do is roll dice and check tables, that can be boring too. So you can get into the scenario without getting into thespianism, which I really don't care for. And Bruce prefers miniature represented combat, and I agree. I think miniatures are great for representing any action that happens at the table. Um, let's see, what else do we have going on here? Yes, tell me what Omen Owl. Tell me what you want to do first, then roll. Right. That is the way. Doof money. I believe in theater of the mind supremacy. Oh, you're a supremacist. Oh, you dirty supremacist. Violence solves everything. I have no problem running a game without maps. I hated to talk about it. I enjoy just getting the group together and running the game and talking about the session afterwards. Yeah, that's all great. I hated to talk about the map. Stop worrying about all these terms according to violence solves everything. What they mean and such, just play. Yeah, I agree. We should all relax and let people play the way they want. According to genre films, just play means settling for less. For you, not for me. Bruce, I have a link for you in the Discord. You should join me. Let's see, what does he say again? At least, according to Bruce Lombardo, at least have the minis on the mat. You don't have to have accurate distancing or anything. Yeah, kind of just a representation of what's going on for better visualization. It's an aid. A game aid, just like maps, just like all that stuff. If you don't have anything on the table, sure, theater of mind, but all that stuff helps, I think. It's fun too. All right. And everybody has their own play style. Shauna likes to be in character from the moment the play starts, and I believe doesn't want anybody referring to their characters in anything but first person. I would think. I don't care. You can, I cannot, or can. I'll go in and out, and we shouldn't get hung up on each other about it. At least not if we sit down at the table without an expectation being kind of hammered out. And that's a good topic too. How the DM and the players, well, primarily the DM, should set the tone and should let you know before. I know on one of the Discords today, someone said something about getting invited to a game and some fairly significant game components being changed, but not mentioned before play started, and felt that would be no good. Hello, Seagar.
Hello.
I need to have my headphones in so I can hear thee. There you go. So yes, you should advertise if you're not playing the standard game, so everybody knows what's going on before play even starts. That way you don't have someone saying, you lied, when you're not really lying. You're making probably some sort of assumption, which you shouldn't make, about what they think about the game, whether they're going to be fine with whatever rule changes because you're the DM, so everything you do is just dandy. Bruce Lombardo of Dick's Division. If you're an a-hole like me, you have 17 different ogres, and thus you should be able to differentiate between various monsters. that many different variety of ogre.
God, that's a lot different. That's a lot different.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can see different tribes and having some slight differences.
Yeah, I can
Sure.
see that. I mean, technically, in Rise of Rune, the Pathfinder campaign, there is an orc family that's fairly inbreded, so they don't look like your traditional orcs anymore. But 17 different variations, yeesh.
Well, ogres are just big brutes, right?
Yeah.
Big, ugly brutes. They don't really have any particular strengths or weaknesses apart from being big and tough.
Depends on what system you run, but yeah, for the most part.
So yeah, so for D&D, yeah. In other game systems, in other especially video games. Hello, Bruce.
Hello.
Western Sun. What is that?
It is. They say it's premium flavored vodka. I think it's going to help me change my liver.
Yeah, if you drink enough of it, it will sure change your liver as well as a few other organs, probably.
Your eyes will start turning yellow, and there's this magical thing called jaundice will kick in.
Ogre witch, like an oni, right? Isn't that what they are? The ogre magi.
Yeah. They're called on. Yeah, in Path, I think they're called.
They are exotic, to use a restricted word. I wonder if that will get restricted on Discord as well as all the other nonsense they're bringing out.
Hey, I'm over at Gilded now, though.
I was thinking about Gilded. My Discord the Discord for Biggest Geekus is not all that well populated, although there are a couple of people who like to get some threads going, but there's not that many people on it, so it wouldn't be all that hard to port over. But the danger still exists that it being a single entity running it, there's still the same problem that Discord has, or there could be in the future. They suddenly say, "Yeah, we're going to be weenies now."
Is Discord not an American company? I mean, I know this has nothing to do with gaming.
They're either Sony or Microsoft.
Yeah, but anything you say on Discord should be protected by freedom of speech.
No, it shouldn't.
No, it should be. Yes, you're right.
It should be.
No,
but it's
the First Amendment, freedom of speech, protects you from government infringement, not from just people.
Yeah.
So now,
if you're talking about a mysterious virus of unknown origin, you can't have discussions about that when you have it pinpointed on the map what building in downtown Wuhan it's from.
Right. The problem really arises if these companies have some sort of direction or funding from the government. Then your point is good. But if it's just they've independently decided to join the Ministry of Knowledge or Ministry of Truth, then that's a different story. If they just said, "Yeah, we agree with the Ministry of Truth and we're just going to do what they do," then what can you do? You just go somewhere else and hope that they don't do the same thing.
If they're a private company. Yep. Sorry, you are absolutely right.
But that doesn't prevent us from criticizing their move.
Right.
I know. Section 230 is weird. It doesn't seem to apply the way it was written.
Yeah, Section 230. It's any of those articles usually seem to be applied at the whim of the judges or the whoever is applying it at the time. So if they want to Section 230 to apply, then it applies. If they don't, then it won't. There's not necessarily a mechanism to make it apply because it's words on paper.
Oddly enough, very much like the First Amendment.
Yeah, words on paper.
Yeah.
But we have people who swear an oath to uphold that, ostensibly.
Yeah.
So, but they most of the time they just treat it like toilet paper anyway. Anyway, we're getting way off the topic.
I'm sorry.
Gaming.
I'm sorry. I followed Bruce.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
You can blame me. You can blame me for that because I was watching Nancy Pelosi. Like, she was not in the meeting last night. She was somewhere else on TV. And then somebody said, Nancy, would you like some ice cream? And she stood up and started rubbing her hands together, completely out of sync with what was just said. Sorry. So I'll get off.
Okay.
I'll get off politics now.
Yeah. Not that I'm shy of talking about it, obviously, and I think that we have a culture of don't talk. Shh, shh, shh.
Which is, yeah, I absolutely
Don't say stuff. Don't say stuff, but we should be able to without getting hot. But the topics are gaming, and people came here to watch stuff about gaming.
There's a time and place for everything.
Yes. Right. So.
Okay, now 5e orcs. 5e orcs. I do run 5e. I'm trying to think of all the different orcs. There's very many different orcs in 5e.
Just in Pathfinder for the varieties of critical or the challenge rating, they have about 10 to 12 different ogres statted up. My favorite is the Ogre Destroyer.
That thing is a beast.
Yeah, it's an anti-paladin.
Yeah.
So do they have mystical powers?
They have the regular powers you would find within the various classes that they're statted up with, which is why I appreciate the Monster Codex. The Monstrous Codex is probably one of my favorite books that they made out of Paizo.
Yeah.
Books, it falls apart when you use it too much.
That in NPC Codex, I've been known to use that a lot.
Yeah, I find the 3x style stat blocks for NPCs and monsters a bit tedious. I prefer much more stripped down. Only what you need. Monsters can do things PCs can't, and that should be a D&D ism anyway. And it was.
It was until 3E.
Yeah, and then they just built all the monsters like they did the PCs.
Peter Atkinson made the engine, and they said this will be this. This is going to be the movement rate. Here's for the armor class. Here's the equation how to figure it out. Here's the equation for how strength is figured, etc., for various sizes. They turned it into a Quake mapping game, which, if you know anything about Quake is a great single-player multiplayer game, but it also has a back end where you can go into it and open it up and make your own levels and make your own monsters. And it's once you get into it, it's very user-friendly. You can actually do stuff with it and make games with narratives, and it's more than running around the shotgun and blowing away ogres with chainsaws. It's really cool. But they've turned it into Peter Atkins's love of Quake, which you can do anything with Quake if you know how to get into the coding. And like 3X, if you know how to code for the engine, you can do anything with it.
Yeah, you just grab a bunch of different character classes and mush them together and add up all the bonuses and list all the various abilities and run.
Like there's a bar that is about a minute away from Dragon's Lair across the street here. And that's not a bad game store. Dragon's Lair is a typical corporate game store with Funko Pops and comic books and Todd McFarlane's action figures. And then they've got RP and Warhammer on another wall. And they have a 5e shrine where a lot of their money comes in on the weekends. But me and some of the GMs went next door to it. That used to be called the Leaky Barrel. Now it's called Slackers. Still a bar. We went to the Leaky Barrel and we were talking. And one of the GMs is he just kind of does what Connell does. He runs the store. He gets free shit. And he gets a table full of people. And they buy pop and soda and candy from the store. So he's looked at very well. Dragon's Lair in San Antonio. There's two of them. There's actually three that I know of. One in Austin, two in San Antonio. One is on Fredericksburg across the street from where I live. And then the other's over in Alamo Ranch with a bunch of hoity-toities that drive Priuses and cars with lithium batteries that I'm waiting to explode.
Yeah. Did you hear about the boat?
Oh, I love the boat.
Oh boy.
I'm not a person that I shouldn't celebrate this because I'm a capitalist, but I have no love for electric cars if our environment, if our own infrastructure can't support a nation of electric car drivers. Stop making these miserable fucking vehicles. Okay? Just like, windmills. Stop putting them up. They're never going to pay for themselves. It's a perfect government program. It wastes fucking money. Fuck you if you like windmills.
Well,
So,
windmills are probably good in certain locations for certain people. As if you could find a battery, it could keep charged.
yeah.
But it's not good for continuous power. But the boat was a boat full of cars,
Yes.
and the cars, well, they didn't attribute, as far as I know, the fire to the batteries, but a lot of people suspect that there's a runaway
Lithium battery.
The lithium batteries have this runaway overcharge, or I can't remember. There's a phrase for it, but it'll just
Spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, essentially for lithium batteries, and
Damn.
you can't put it out. You have to let it burn out.
And it's funny because it was a boatload of these stupid cars that are over $100,000 each, which if you can afford that and you want to drive it, great. I wouldn't drive a car like that around San Antonio. I love my town, but it is kind of a pothole city.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, Shauner's right. Where's all the electric going to come for these stupid cars? So,
Right.
100,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe 30% nuclear in the U.S.
If we would go to 30% nuclear, I'd be so fucking happy.
Yeah. I don't know. That's not a gaming topic, and I'm not jumping. I'm not jumping on that grenade.
The boat collapsed or sank
It
under
sank.
the weight of the burning wreckage of all these cars catching fire.
Thousands of cars were destroyed.
Oh, wow.
Thousands and thousands. Lots of what's the high end car that they kept mentioning in the news reports?
Tesla.
No.
No, more than that. It's
Not even an electric car. It was
it's a very fuel inefficient V12, and I can't think of
God.
it. They had Audis, they had Benzes, and they had this Italian car maker. I'm blanking right now.
Yeah, but they kept mentioning a couple of news reports I heard snippets from.
Hungry
Porsche.
East at Porsche.
Porsche. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
Hungry.
heard they had some Ferraris on there as well, and I don't know about any Lambos, but it was just Pagani.
Oh, I didn't know about the Bentleys.
They had a couple Bentleys, a couple Paganis, a couple Ferraris. Porsches was the majority of it. Porsches, Audis, Benz, but it was Bugatti, fucking Bugatti. So this thing that's a beautiful car you should never drive because there will never be a road smooth enough for it to go and flex that. What is it? 1,200 horsepower. Fuck.
I lived in San Antonio a few times for the Army doing training. I didn't remember the potholes. I thought the roads there were great, but that was
has turned into a pothole city.
Oh man, this was 20, probably close to 20 years ago though.
I was last night going to game. I was actually going to a game where we're playing Babylon 5. We're playing Babylon 5 using the ships and whatnot. The guy who picked me up was driving a Tesla.
Oh.
And that son of a bitch. Brilliant guy. Really nice guy. I like him a lot. I asked him, he's like, I'm like, kind of joking. I was like, this is a great car, but I can't imagine you cross country in this car. This is not the car for cross. He's like, why? I'm like, well, it's da-da-da. He's like, I drove this car from here to Washington, D.C. Almost every 3 weeks for like 4 or 5 months. I'm like, how much did it cost you? $100 there and back. Because all I have to do is charge it. And I'm like, well, that does put a whole different meaning on road trips expenses.
But whenever they have an operating range of 300 miles, and then you have to go from, like when you drive a combustion vehicle car, you're going from gas station to gas station, but there's thousands of gas stations between your two stops.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever you're driving cross country with a Tesla, you must connect the dots properly, or you have a $35,000 to $75,000 paperweight.
Paperweight. Yeah, no, he showed me on the map. He's like, I can either charge at home. There's one in Peoria. There's one in Bloomington. There's one in Champaign. There's one in so forth and so on down. Just like I said, Tennessee. So you can make it work. It's a little bit of a trick, but you can make it work.
Well, depending on what kind of charging system he has, it might not charge very fast. Because sometimes it can take a long time to charge, depending on the charge system and the battery technology and what version Tesla he has.
He said 20. He says it was about 20 minutes to charge the bastard.
That's
right.
pretty fast.
Yeah. But how many times is he sitting at a charge on his way there and on his way back, and compared to 5 minutes to fill up a tank?
Oh yeah. There's always some. You're always going to lose some time somewhere, especially if you have kids.
Plus your length between charges or fill-ups can be quite significantly different.
Right, but just here in Illinois, it amused me how we're talking about 45 minutes away from each other, realistically.
But in tooling around in town, is no big deal.
Yeah.
And right now there are, like you said, anyway.
Yeah, you can do it.
We are talking about
Gaming.
electric cars on a gaming podcast. So,
well,
this is because we don't really have a topic. We're just riffing off each other. Bruce, you said something about, apart from the communist crack on the Discord, you had some other things that you had thought about talking about.
Let me go back to my Discord. I haven't started getting not sober yet, but let me go back there. I just poured some vodka in my Tang, so and we are classing it up here, gentlemen.
Where is that? Like NASA Tang Orange?
Why, yes, it is NASA Tang Orange. And the thing is that Tesla, if you want to buy a Tesla, you go get a Tesla, but you don't pay sales tax there. You got to go take it down to the county house, and then you got to pay all the tax at once. Have fun, kids.
Yeah. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah. Let me go over to EN World, because there's a few things that I caught my eye last week when I was surfing EN World.
For those who don't know, what is EN World?
EN World is a gaming related website. Started a long time ago. When third edition was being birthed. It was called something different at the time. Eric Noah something or other. And was rebranded maybe a year in, because it was basically relaying the new D&D third edition tidbits until it released. And then soon after it released, it kind of changed hands a little bit, if I'm remembering correctly, from Eric Noah to somebody else. And yes, Shauner is correct. It is woke garbage at this point.
Yeah, it is a woke game. And I use it for a news site because we are gatekeepers. We are supposed to be trying to push the people that want to be woke and push them to console gaming and Fortnite, and let them enjoy and ruin those fucking bastions of miserableness. And we can keep our own bitter people here. You know, as much as you guys don't like Shadzar, I want Shadzar to play at a TSR friendly table.
Sure, why not?
And he would be happy as fuck to play at a table where they're playing first or second edition or basic. Get him in third ed or further? Nope, he's out. See it.
Yeah, and let people play what they want to play. I don't care.
Well, last week's topic is what systems that you could use. What D&D? What was it? DM? What was it?
You having D&D be your every system,
right? But using in different
different genres, apart from fantasy. So space or horror or whatnot.
I think that's a really cool. And I've said this a lot. I think I use the Pathfinder as an engine to run different stories I want. I'll run 5e. I'll run 3.5 if I can find people that's willing to sit down and learn how to play 3.5 anymore.
Right.
I must be an asshole because I don't see a real difference in the engines of 3rd edition, 3.5, and Pathfinder. I know the refined variances.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why somebody would want to play 3.5 or 3.0.
As opposed to Pathfinder.
Yeah, we have Pathfinder. Pathfinder is that sexy new 7-speed exotic car.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, this is my favorite thing to say. It shouldn't take me 15 books to make one character, but it's kind of cool. I can use 15 books to make one character.
Yeah, well, 3.5 had that, and Pathfinder had that after a while. But you don't
Towards
need.
the end, yeah.
You don't need. Depends.
Right.
I think both of those systems failed at compartmentalizing their various things and just throwing the whole thing into one big shebang. And 5th edition is doing the same thing. All races are perfectly fine playing with all the races, and classes all mush them together. There's no theming. There's a world where X races and classes do this thing together. And it's this world, X world, and it's for this. It's not that. That's not what any of these systems do anymore. They say we're going to have some races and classes, and we're going to keep making them, and they can all. There's no, and there supposedly no problems, but we all know with 3.5 and Pathfinder that there were.
Right.
Because all the spaghetti that they threw on the wall, some of it was OP from the start. Some of it was junk from the start. I think they should have done like Palladium does. Here's a set of things to play with in a game world, and they are distinct and separate from the rest. That's, in my mind, preferable to having how many races? 50, 60?
It's up there. I mean, not every book that comes out
the same.
Introduces new races, but it's like, I won't say it's every book. Maybe every other book will renew a race or a variation of a race that they'll pop in. And this is where I come in as a DM, as a DM at my own table, and I say, I know that there's 101 races out there, but these are the 25, maybe 25 to 15 that I'm allowing. I'm.
Well, that's fine. A lot of DMs don't do that.
Yeah, this is not Disney World. You don't get everything here. This is what I'm going to allow my campaign. It's like I'm working on 2 different worlds right now. One of them is based in the time of King Arthur. So there's a lot of those races that are not going to be allowed. Because I'm only doing Celtic or the Celtic mythology races, or you find in the Celtic mythology. And if you don't, as you said before that, as a DM, I do need to let my players know what to expect in my campaign at the get-go. Because my table might not be for you.
Right.
But if it is, and this is something you're willing to play, I'll make sure that my players are having a good time.
Right. Yeah. So Omen Owl had a good comment here about Oriental Adventures, that exotic book of ill repute in certain circles. It had its own thing that you did. It had a bunch of classes and not so much races. It's mostly just the same races, but classes, and had a feel and had a theme, the Asian exotic type feel.
Is it the one that introduced samurais and ninjas into Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. And it was a neat book. And Dark Sun. Nobody expected you to pull the Dark Sun character classes out of that. Well, not many, but some. I met somebody who managed to have from the Dragon King's book, which is a Dark Sun accessory. He had a magic user, psionicist, who became a what's the name of it? It wasn't. Maybe it was just a dragon. You ended up being a dragon.
Dragon King.
Yeah, he metamorphosed into this thing and expected that. Yeah, this is my character. Are we going to play? I'm like, well, you're totally overpowered. What do you expect?
Shauner, I don't know why he snapped on you the way he did, but that's a Shadzarism. He'll get pissed at me for shit.
Yeah.
Oh, he's yelled at me. I mean, just think if you're joining an interesting club.
He's that guy that he has the corner house, and you don't cut across his lawn because he comes out and screams at you, "Get off my lawn!" You know, he does that. That's a Shadzarism. He's good for that, and I like the guy. I genuinely do. He's going through a really rough patch right now, and I hope he gets through it. It's not going to come out smelling like a rose, but hopefully, things work in his favor. It's just one of those things where you don't want to dwell on it. I told him, like, whatever you got to do to get through this, man, you better fucking knuckle down and you better get through it.
Joe, can I ask you a question?
No.
I won't. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
No questions.
Now, I've talked to you a handful of times. I enjoy your company, and I'm saying that is not a pretense to want to ask.
I'm married.
Oh no, it's I don't.
Sorry, Carl,
Yeah,
we're both
it's
married.
all good. Well, actually, you are married. Apparently, that's my type. So there's that. Anyways, I'll explain later.
No plumbing joke. No ring ever plugged a hole. I get it.
Yeah. What's your system of choice? Are you old school to first, second edition?
Right now, I'm in a big flux because I like. When we switched we played third edition through its entire run, and then we went to Pathfinder and played it until. So started with old school D&D,
right,
until third edition was a thing, and then played that through its run, played Pathfinder, and then when it hit second edition, and they came out with that nonsense in their playtest document where it said you have to play this way or else. We were all like,
"Fuck
done.
you!"
Not giving Paizo any more money. Screw you! And I was already heading that way with Wizards of the Coast. So, and when I looked at fifth edition, I was like, bleh. I didn't like that at all. Mainly because I like playing Wizards, and I feel that they gave the Wizards the big screw job. But that's only
in 5e.
Yeah.
Yeah, serious.
I don't play enough Wizards to comment on it. I know they fucked Rangers over pretty good in 5e. That's my opinion.
So I just think they fucked over the fans of the game in 5e because they made a core rulebook that you can basically pick up and play if you want to play it, but you have to bring in some previous stuff from a previous edition in order to make it work right. And then they sell you a bunch of splat books, which are hardcovers. That's $50 a pop, and they really don't add much to the game unless you're somebody that has your own channel, blue hair, and you screech a lot, and that's about it. There's no reason for anybody with a hard-on to ever get excited about a 5e release.
Right, yeah. Because it's always going to be crap.
Yeah, I mean, this is coming from a guy who runs 5e. I use it because that's what my players like to. The system my players use, but I use different stories. I'll use different modules to run out of, not 5e, because I've yet to run a 5e campaign that I actually want to sit through.
Right.
Hey, Sean, I think first edition AD&D is about the same as second ed. The difference being in the core book, initiative is rolled with a d6, and then you figure out your speed factors or casting times. And if you can figure out that it's second edition is better edited than third or than first, but a lot of people will bring the first edition because second ed got rid of the assassin and they had a bunch of other stuff, like they got rid of the demons and devils. And so a lot of DMs from the second ed will still run first edition stuff. And a lot of guys
are fairly compatible.
Yeah, they're really compatible. Yeah. They pick up the BX shit too, because simplicity of BX can easily port to any more complicated system. And if you actually look at the rules cyclopedia, it gets really complicated as you level up, especially if you are a fighter and your weapon coding goes up and the different tricks you can do with your weapons get more and more expansive. I'll shut up now. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem. So with all the different D&Ds that I've played, I have started getting really tired of the revisions.
Gotcha.
I don't think they really needed to revise it much beyond even first edition, except for refinements. Second edition was an editing refinement, but I think they changed some things they didn't need to. Like I playing a wizard character, I really didn't like having damage caps. I thought that was cheating. But anyway, I was really bothered by the 3rd edition revision. But my favorite game is D&D.
As long as it's D&D, not.
But I'm not really tied to a particular edition, except not 4th, not 5th.
Yeah, not 5th. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get that. I've never had the opportunity to play 2nd or 1st, just because when I jumped in, that was what was not being played.
Mm-hmm. And 3rd edition had a problem with glut. The expansive amount of material for the game material, like Pathfinder has the same problem, and 5th edition is starting to, I think, probably. I don't mind having a lot of different things, but like I said, it should be segregated like they have in Palladium. Palladium does it. World books. You have a world book, and you stick you'd stick new things in that, and you have a theme, and that's a thing. Not all things on the planet. It's just silly.
I think society kind of had it right with Pathfinder in a really weird way. There are certain classes, certain races that weren't allowed to play at any given time because of whatever reason. But the players can only bring 2 books: the core handbook, and one other book, to a certain degree. You couldn't bring like a stack of books saying, "I want to play aspects of each one of these books." No, you're stuck to 2 books, and I thought that was a really cool idea.
There's a lot of people that have that idea. What was that?
That's completely in 5e too for their society games, because a lot of the 5e games that are involved with Tinker's Tavern or Frog God Games, they all use the same rule that you must have the player's handbook, and you choose one other book to create your character, and that's it.
But it has to be on an approved list. Everything has to be on an approved list of being okay.
And yeah, I do remember 2nd edition was they didn't really mention Gary much in Dragon Magazine either, and I don't know why that was, but
Persona non grata.
Yeah, fucking Maureen Williams. That's all I got to say.
And if you look back at various, like I've looked through a lot of the rule cyclopedia, and I wonder why they abandoned some of the simpler, like, spell descriptions for more complicated or silly ones, like they have in not necessarily 1st edition, but definitely 3rd edition and Pathfinder. So overly complicated. Now, there's some in the early game, some spells at 1st level were really powerful, especially sleep. There's no saving throw, and you can get up to 16 monsters with it, which is really awesome. But then you're done for the day. So I suppose if you, in the subsequent editions, when you had more spells at your disposal, reducing the power of the individual ones might have been their attack there. But I just think it's like an illusion spell. I can't remember which one it was. I read the illusion spell from Rule Cyclopedia. I was like, oh, this is very simple explanation, and you don't need to have like a whole treatise on a scientific dissertation on how illusions work for your game, because it's so silly. I know that there's been kind of this big thing about illusions since 1st edition. How do illusions work? Can you walk on an illusionary bridge if you believe in it really hard? And all this stuff, and
basically how it works.
But in the old game, no, it didn't, because an illusion, as soon as you touch it, it disappears. So you take a step out on that illusionary bridge, you fall.
I wanted, you said sleep, and I was just kind of curious because you said sleep with saving, and you roll to will save or whatever for it doesn't come into effect. 5e doesn't have it. You roll 5d8, and you go from you go after the hit points. Person who has lower than these certain hit points, they go sleep. I'm not arguing with you in a pretty sense that's overcomplicated or undercomplicated. I found that just because it said sleep, I thought that's fairly direct. That's to the point. I mean, yeah, there are other spells in Pathfinder and all of them that are like, what the fuck am I reading? Why the fuck should I bother?
Right. Yeah. And sleep wasn't one of those changed into weird,
Right.
weirdly extra complication. It was other stuff.
It stops working after a certain level. I mean, I rolled a 5d8, so the max of what 40 hit points at most, and you're running into a creature.
You chop down some tougher opponents, you can then sleep them.
Yeah, well, if you run into a
rule.
roper that's 93 hit points, I'm not putting that bastard to sleep.
No, not initially, but you stab them a few times, and then once it gets down to below 40, then you can sleep them.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and that's how
I think ropers aren't ropers immune to a lot of magic. I think they are.
They've got a spell resistance now, and they used to have one back then, but I have to really go reading a second-hand manual.
If I remember correctly, ropers in early editions were just immune.
They're fucking party killers.
Well, yeah, they're tough. They should be.
I'm dealing with one in one of my campaigns I'm in on Monday that somebody threw at us. I'm like, so what do I want to play next? And the DM's like, don't you think you could beat him? I'm like, I don't know.
Depends on how the DM plays it. If he plays it so that the roper waits and keeps looking like a stalagmite, stalactite, I'd always get those mixed up.
Stalagmite.
Until the party is all of the people in the party are within its ropey range. Sure. But if as soon as you catch sight of one, if it starts wiggling its tentacles, then you can run. Well, then it's not that much of a big deal.
Run. Yeah, the DM waited until we're all in grabbing reach, then he pulled the trigger.
Oh, sure, that's what you do.
It's like,
why would the roper announce its presence unless it has a 1 intelligence or it's retarded? It's a retarded roper.
We're all bitching. It's like, we're going to run into a mimic down here. Nope. It's something far, far fucking worse. Thanks for playing the game, assholes.
I love
trappers, ropers, and lurkers.
And don't forget, all the sloping in the dungeon, eventually you start feeling all this icky goo under your feet, and it all slides to this pit where the Audiug gets to just grab things and just eat it. I put Audiugs underneath all the cities in the Frog God games that I run.
Oh my God.
That's fair.
They did that in Adventure Path number 2, Curse of Crimson Throne. First adventure module, like one of the ropers busts out of the sewer grate, and the players see some of the guards come running with these spears with little injection needles on the tip, and hopefully they can fail the tranquilizer save. If they drop one, the players can try to help, or they can run for their miserable lives.
I still have to find somebody who's willing to run that one. I heard it was fun.
Which module?
The Curse of the Crimson Throne.
Oh, okay.
It's the one where they actually have good regicide. The only way you really can improve that is if you take the Monty Cook Bard out of the Eldritch Might book, or maybe if he has a Bard-like thing in Arcana Evolved. But the Bard in Eldritch Might had the ability to do 2 spells around by singing songs. And in her spell list, she's got Disintegrate.
I was not a fan of that Bard.
As a player or as a DM?
Yes.
No,
I'm very on board with the idea of niche protection, and when you have a bard that can cast more spells around than a wizard, I go, ahem. No.
I changed her because she put the fucking crown on. And that's the only time I've ever been able to run that bard at a table. And I'm fully on board with, as I create the campaign that I'm running or create the game system I'm running, wizards will be able to cast spells that would equate, if you were playing another version of D&D, that you could cast 2 or 3 spells around if you're a high-level wizard. I think that's something that's been missing from the game since we've started, because every fucking game is the same. Well, fighters can attack up to 5 times around. Rangers can shoot up to 6 arrows around. Paladins can smite, and they can attack multiple times around. Wizards, You get one spell after your move, fucker.
Yeah, they tried to do it with 3-0 not wish 3-0 haste. With a 3-0 haste, you could,
Freaking spell.
but then they
Yeah.
switched it to 3-5 where you couldn't. So
Nope, no more.
Yeah,
3-0 haste was great, and
Wasn't
I
Feats?
complete that. What?
Twin spell. There's feats in 3.5 that will let you cast.
Twin spell. There's quickened spell. There's a bunch of spells that are like that.
Yeah.
So you have a quicken spell in 3-0. You could quicken the spell, and you could be hasted, and you could cast 3 spells that particular round that you had a quicken spell, or in every round that you still had a quicken spell capable. So
Right.
yeah, but then you run out of spells fast, and you're done.
Not mean to argue with you guys. I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, 3.5. I thought 3.5 kind of had a little bit of a fix to that because Pathfinder sure shit didn't, and 5.E sure shit doesn't.
Right. Well, I think Pathfinder did not carry that over because honestly, at 20th level wizard, throwing down three 9th level spells in a round, I mean, if you had that many spell slots to use,
right?
If you're high enough level and had a high enough intelligence to have that many 9th level spell slots, and you could cast 3, well, you probably couldn't quicken a 9th level spell.
No, you could do an 8th one though.
No,
you could do an 8th or a 7th.
Quicken uses a spell slot like four levels higher, I think.
Maybe 3 or 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You so you're probably limited to 6th or 7th at most. So,
but if
right, unless you're a sorcerer who could, the sorcerers weren't limited that way. I don't think.
See, I never enjoyed the sorcerer's class. That was always the first class I'd love to get rid of any of my homebrew campaigns. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's no such thing as sorcerers.
Well, I fixed them in my game.
You killed them all?
No, I made them brand new. They've only been around for about 100 years, and therefore all the established power circles, all the guilds are ran by wizards. So whenever you come in as a sorcerer, you're kind of like not wanted. The only way you find yourself enjoyed is if you stay in your little small town and you don't try to go out and broaden yourself. Oh, and by the way, you have to learn your spells through some form or fashion. You cannot just instantly, I know this spell. I leveled up. I know this spell. Well, fuck you. You don't do that.
How do you know the spell? Did somebody come to you at night and tell you? Wow.
Well, no. Well, see, this is the thing. You can always explain this stuff. Just like a wizard, by the rules in those games, when they level, they get 2 spells that they can write into their book for free. And it's not assumed that one day you don't know them and the next day you do. Next day you do, just out of the blue. It's more like through the time between first and second level, or your previous level and your now new current level, you have been studying and pondering, and you might even just extend that over your entire career up to now. As an adventurer, you have studied and pondered and done magic things, and that all of those things coalesce into the knowledge of a spell. So it's not like just out of the blue. It's just you have a new insight, a eureka moment.
And that makes sense. I've always just made my characters, like if we're in the middle of a dungeon, they level, which I normally try not to do that, but sometimes it just kind of happens that way. And the wizard says, well, I get 2 new spells. I'm like, no, you don't. You get cast the spell allotment. How many spells do you go up? But not until you go somewhere that has scrolls, or you find a scroll, you don't get a new spell.
Yeah, why did you do that?
I don't like the fact that they wake up the next day knowing a new spell. I've never enjoyed that. I always thought that was dumb.
When they don't give you like a moment, like they don't say, okay, during my downtime, I'm going to be practicing my evocation spells. Or they don't say that. And I know that could be considered, well, you would assume they would be doing these things. No, actually, whenever we're not in a dungeon, I expect you to be whoring and trying to drink your way into an early grave. I don't expect you to be at a wizard's academy because you're really not impressing me with your studious nature as a wizard. You're acting like Tom if Tom was an asshole that had magic missile. You're not acting like, a character in a book that knows formulae and has reagents and has a cost to all of his weekly activities numbering in what would normally be considered a mid-grade level job.
Well, in Pathfinder, you have feats. So when you gain a new level, you magically get a new feat. It just pops into your awareness. How do you explain that? Do you to make them find some dude to train them in that feat?
I really do like the idea of like when you level up with me, you need a certain amount of time. Like usually I say at least as many days as you went up in level. So if you're going from 8th to 9th level, you need at least 9 days. And you probably need to go find somebody to teach you this stuff, because you fiddling around a dungeon and then getting a feat that's thoroughly unrelated to anything you've been doing before, I'm not going to buy it. You need to go learn that from somebody else.
There's certain feats, it depends. There's certain feats I understand would be like, how the fuck do you know this? Where did you get this experience? And there's other feats where I think they're kind of a give me. Let's say you're playing an archer, right? You start off with 3.5 or Pathfinder. Let's just stay with Pathfinder, because 5e feats are not like they were in earlier editions. Where your first feat you take is point blank
Shot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm tired. Point blank shot. The next one you take is rapid shot. Well, if you're shooting arrows, a lot of arrows, through repetition and muscle memory, sure, I'll give you that you're able to now shoot 2 arrows.
Okay, so in a related fashion, if my character has something like in 5th edition speak, you can have as a 2nd level spell, Scorching Ray. It's fire.
Right.
Then at 3rd level, it becomes Fireball. That's not a far leap. It's fire. It's just taking up it's doing a different shape. So you can make justifications. But, and that's fine if you as a DM say those things, but do you spring that on your players?
I'm putting training time in my games.
Yeah, so it's something that you should tell, especially if they're not expecting it. Because they kind of rip training out starting at 3rd edition, and they have Pathfinder has Kingmaker. Yeah, and I think they might have training rules in that. Maybe, I don't know. But
if it's not hard coded into Kingmaker, it was heavily implied in the forums that this is also a good time to take it back to basics and say, like, you'd have to go back to town, manage your town for a week, and also when you're done with that, you would be assumed to go and learn some things about your class. So if you have to level up, this is an ideal time to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
Right.
Yeah, that's how you ran it. That's how you ran your Kingmaker when we were up in Washington. I remember you doing that.
Yeah, and I think I just want to go back to the old days where, not that you're going to need training from 18th to 19th level to find a fighter on the other side of the world in the Himalayas to teach you this ninja trick that nobody knows except for American movie stars that work at Canon Films. But I do think that, like, after about level 12, you're probably needing 1 to 3 months of time to level up. And so I think when you have these adventures, like, the players might earn gold, but keep in mind the world is on a silver base, and so you should be earning enough money to where when you're finished with this adventure, you should be able to live at a decent level of comfort and not have to worry about, like, paying bills or washing dishes over at the bar. You should be able to go and get yourself healed up and then go sit at home and, take your achy pain medicine or your having a brain fart right now with the
just grab your bottle of booze of choice.
Yeah,
and self-medicate.
You get that or Relief Factor, but a Relief Factor is what I was searching for, and because she's a fan of that now. She ran out of it for a few days and she was bitching.
Relief Factor, I thought you're just making a general statement.
No,
Relief Factor is a product.
It's a product. They advertised it on Hannity, on the Trading Buck show. They advertised it on Glenn Beck.
Trading Butt show?
No, Glenn.
That's what it sounded like you said.
I always loved Fox, and it was a little asinine.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton.
Buck Sexton. Okay.
Okay,
And
those
yeah,
two guys,
I'm not familiar with any of the Fox stuff. I really stay away from talking heads. But
the new Rush Limbaugh, that they literally have the Rush Limbaugh theme at the start of their show, and
Odd.
between them, Glenn Beck, and all that. I mean, I'm talking about Relief Factor because I have a funny joke from last week where the girlfriend ran out of it for a few days,
ooh,
for a couple days, and she was bitching the whole time. I really can't believe I need a fucking product. What's wrong? I need Relief Factor. Really? Okay, I better be throwing $80 towards me every month, and that's what it cost her. So
right.
she's happy.
For that kind of stuff, I there's a podcast I listen to called The No Agenda Show.
Sure.
I know that one. I know that one.
And that's pretty much they're both kind of left, but not terribly, and not progressively, which is
Sure.
good. Anyway,
But the thing is that like through the time that you go on your adventure, you should make enough money when you're there between the four of you to where you all can afford to live for the next month or two without you having to go out on an adventure immediately afterwards. Like,
do you ever have players? I'm sorry
go ahead.
to interrupt. Do you ever have players that want to start a business enterprise apart from adventuring, and like say they want to start trade and run a fishing concern and stuff like that, and I'm like, hey, we've got this dragon that's a problem over here. What are you guys doing?
We had Greg and the little Greg and his old apartment full of friends that they were in my game once, and they started making a whiskey out of Endhome in the For Our God games. Actually, that's some of those are up in my playlist from 2016 or 17, and they were doing Greg Daniels whiskey, and there's stuff for them to do in Endhome. Like there's entire like 4 chapters on the dungeon of Endhome. What artifacts will you find in the dungeon? Nope, they're up there, spending maybe 50 gold a week, making back 500 gold if they do it right, typically making about 200 gold. And they were happy to do that. And I'm like, but guys.
Isn't that kind of chump change though?
Yeah. And that's kind of where I hit him on it. Because they didn't realize that the town said, yeah, if you want to live there, you can live there. That's fine. Just be advised, we do have taxes in this town. And I gave them a few months, and they didn't want to go adventuring.
Yeah.
So
Was it? Sorry,
they have taxes.
Was it in Kingmaker? When I first started playing Kingmaker with you, this was really our first time me and you actually, spending any serious amount of time to get in the same area. I think when he was running Kingmaker, my first idea is like, what this town needs, and it's the same thing I say anytime we're doing like a king building campaign. It's like, what this town needs, it needs a whorehouse. Then the rest of the party's like, who's going to run the whorehouse? I'll run the whorehouse. I don't have a problem with this. Then, we had a few people, no, this town is not going to be about that, and ... I'm like,
You mean
fine,
VD house?
I won't run a whorehouse. How about, hey, Bruce, can I start a cigar shop? Does anybody have a problem with cigar shop? Yeah, no problem there. I'm like, you bastards.
I think the margin on turning tricks is probably a little bigger than cigars. Probably.
It was a moral issue, not a financial issue.
Well, sure it is. I mean, so if you're going realistic, a whorehouse is a VD shop. I mean, you're just going to spread a disease everywhere, honestly. But
it's magic. Magic is the cure.
Sure. So you have your whorehouse, and you place it strategically next to the temple, and say, we'll rub your back, and if you rub ours, no pun intended. So I don't know how that would work, but I mean, if you're talking about like a D&D pantheon, they're the Roman gods or the Norse gods, they probably didn't care.
I mean, I could Pathfinder. There's a couple Pathfinder gods I could think of that wouldn't give two shits. Hell, one of the Pathfinder gods' temple was literally a bar.
Right. Yeah, same difference.
So
Very. They talk about their lawful good and all good, but they don't really define anything. So it's up to the DM, and that kind of stuff is kind of not really on the table as far as this is a good god and they have morals kind of like modern day Christian morals. Not really. They leave that, which is fine. I prefer that. Let's just have whatever.
See, I actually think that like a lot of neutralish cleric or neutralish temples would have, they would tell their clerics, when you come back in town, if you wish to bring your party here, we do have rooms that they can stay in at reduced rates because of your work. And then, they do that entire, what is the coal town where you can come here and your family can live in this town and just walk this tour. Then we'll put it
company
on
town.
Yeah.
It's a company town.
Yes. And so they have these little reliquaries where they have the same thing. The party stays there. And by the time they leave for their adventure, they need to go on an adventure because they're like 3,000 gold in debt to the church from using all the temple horrors and the clerical medicine and the clerical mead, and all that good stuff.
See,
yeah,
I feel sorry for anybody who has to DM me, and this is including Bruce, because I have a bad habit of bringing, especially like the horror house aspect of it. We're building a kingdom, we're building a town. Well, historically, a lot of towns out west, where most of their money came from wasn't the gold mines. It was a mine. There was some digging in there and plowing and whatever, whatever word you want to use. It was a whorehouse. They brought the most money into towns over everything else.
Yeah,
and
they did. That doesn't mean that's kind of a law of raising towns. But yeah, you're correct.
And, if I'm sitting at a table with a bunch of other adults, now, if there's anybody under the age of, let's say, 25, well, no, I was about 25. Anybody under the age of like 19 being the hard line, I would have never went that way. But everybody at that table was of drinking age.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Because there's a Scottish kid at my table that will be coming back once I get off vacation. And
Washington.
Oh, in Washington. Okay.
The last time we played Kingmaker and I was in the table was Washington. It's all right.
They have harlots on the random encounter table, so you're really not doing anything new there, bud. But it is if you're going to build a community, yeah, you probably should have a couple of those in there because you are going to have a bunch.
They're going to be there.
Yeah, they're going to be there.
Why is it considered the most professional on earth?
You could. I mean, your D&D game is not a novel or a movie, but when you watch these fantasy movies or read these novels, for the most part, that stuff is not mentioned. So, say Wheel of Time. Is there a whorehouse in the entirety of Wheel of Time?
Oh, I
don't. Not read the entirety.
So I don't think so. But they have some cultures from far away that come to invade and cause trouble. So maybe they're there. But in the primary kingdom that the Wheel of Time deals with, not really. And
big breast. That's what I remember.
Huh?
The women had big breasts.
Jesus.
They did.
Of course, that's what you remember.
There was this dumb woke bitch that wrote an article talking about how the Wheel of Time for Amazon better not have the things that triggered her when she read the first three novels. And the first three novels had the mention of breast and large bosoms so much that it triggered this blue hair that was writing about how Amazon better not fuck this up. And boy, did they fucked it up, but she was happy because it had all the check marks she wanted. But there was nothing Wheel of Time in the Amazon series.
If you step away, say novel, fantasy novel, because you said Wheel of Time. I've never read Wheel of Time, but I have spent some time reading R.R. Martin's the series of Fire and Ice, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, we're not counting him.
Oh, okay.
You can't finish a fucking series.
What's
I'm
that?
not talking about the series. I'm talking about the books.
Right.
Littlefinger ran all the fucking brothels.
Sure. Yeah, but you could probably take Lord of the Rings on one side of a spectrum, and George R.R. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire. Wasn't that the name of the series? Song of
That's
Ice
the name
and
of
Fire.
the series. The name of the series is
The book
song. Yeah,
series.
the book series.
So you can put them on opposite ends of the spectrum, and you have family-friendly fantasy on one end, and on the other end, misery porn, which is what I call George R. R. Martin stuff.
I
gotta agree.
mean,
That was a horrible book to read.
you're not that far off. It was reading a history book. It really was. It was reading like an old textbook history book. It was either about porn, incest. No, it's either about sex, incest, or food.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
not a fan of. I finally finished Wheel of Time, or not Wheel of Time, but Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm done. I'm fucking done.
Well, he might be done because he hasn't put out a new book in almost 10 years.
We're gonna have somebody come along after he dies, and he's done nothing for 20 years. He's done social media tours. He's been at pools, at hotels. He's had plenty of time to sit in front of a goddamn typewriter. A royal typewriter would perfectly fit him, and he could bang his fingertips on that typewriter and finish the fucking novel to make us happy. But he's not doing it. He's just gonna sit there and be like spending money willy-nilly. And the two guys that were in charge of season 5 on ruined what was possibly going to be the best series that HBO had. But note, The Wire still holds that title.
I dumped it at season 3 after the Red Wedding. I was like, I'm done.
Oh,
There's a few good scenes in season 4, but that's about it.
I enjoyed the show up until the last 3 episodes. That's when I'm like, thank you for shitting the bed.
Oh my god, they Amber Heard it all over the place.
I know. What was the other book? I'm reading
The chat.
comments.
Yeah, so John Carter Mars is a great series. It's science fantasy, but it's the same, I would say, flavor of gaming that we all like to do, because it's heroic and adventurous. And so there's ray guns, and well, not really ray guns, they're projectile guns. Or are they? I can't remember. They have guns.
It's been forever since I've read it.
But it's still very fantasy-like, but no brothels.
No, bro. Conan, there was brothels in Conan.
Yeah.
It's just, no, of course you're not going to find anything like that in Token, because Token was a hard-nosed Christian, and that shit's not allowed.
Right.
I disagree. I disagree because just because our version of Christianity says these are moral things that you must support, and these are the immoral things that you must be against, that doesn't mean that things changed or have changed at all in the history of time. At one point, the Jewish church had temple prostitutes.
That doesn't mean it was right.
I'm going to agree with you on that. But at one point, they had temple prostitutes. That was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying you need. I'm not saying that you need to have descriptive interaction of die roll porn between you and a player as to who orgasms first. I don't think we're trying to say that. I just want to say that if a player says, "I want to own a whorehouse," you, if you are so inclined, could say, "Yes, you own a whorehouse, and here's how much money you have to spend every month, no matter what. And depending on how your cattle do, will determine on the products that you make. And don't forget, you have to allocate another 500 gold once you get over 3 whores in the same house per month because of the cure disease fees from the local cleric's temple. And it might go up if you become really, really popular."
And what do you do with pregnancies and all that stuff?
Same thing we do in the real world. Some will have families and some will have a garbage dumpster.
They grew up to be famous comedians from the 70s called what was his name? He's from Peoria. Richard Pryor.
Pryor, aren't you? Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything?
His grandma was a madam of a brothel. His mom was a whore and said brothel, and she had him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we really don't talk about. And I don't mind the sex talk at the table, because you will occasionally bring people up to your level of knowledge by little anecdotes like that. But that is actual historical fact. That's what happened with Richard Pryor.
Right.
I mean, no, I completely agree with you, Bruce. We don't need, especially with no, I don't need detail of who's doing what to who. If a character, what?
Oh no, there's just a lot of players that I've had at my table that I don't want to see them get aroused. I don't want to see them clothed or naked getting aroused, thinking about getting laid. And there's a lot of people that I've had at my table that I just want to think that maybe they do have sex, but it's going to be far, far away from me.
Please, God. Yes.
Yeah.
You guys don't want to see me have sex, and I don't want to see you have sex.
Especially not with your wig on.
Oh my God, dude! No. The bad thing is when I put the wig on, the carpets match the drapes.
Well, and then there's that. No, I always do like the 1960s, 70s, 80s, not so much the 80s. When it comes to that soap opera, you two go into the next room, and what is everybody else doing?
Yeah,
you come down the next day, or
you the next day, and you're a happier man.
Yeah. Now I have run encounters where they took somebody to bed and they turned out to be a succubus. That's fun
for her.
I wouldn't even allow that. I wouldn't even allow that to be like an encounter. Okay, you go into the room with the hot redhead, and you really don't have any other thoughts. Really?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's it. The next day happens, and you don't see Bob at the dinner table for breakfast. Okay, let's go over to his room. Okay, you find a desiccated husk on the table. It looks like what Bob could be if he was drained of all vital fluids.
Right. And also, his soul is gone.
Yes.
And not where it's supposed to go.
I was in a campaign, and I was a campaign. It was a 5e campaign. And I rolled, a DM had me rolled my age. I was 15-year-old wizard. I was freshly out of wizarding, school of Hogwarts, whatever. Use whatever terminology you want to use. And my flaw was I have harnessed carnal interest. It's I'm also fucking 15, 16 years old. Yeah, I'm walking hormone. And we're guarding a caravan, and there's these two young ladies who was wanting to travel with us, and one of them took me back to the tent, and as we were about ready to kiss her, she changed shapes and starts beating the ever living shit out of my character. I thought that was great. I'm like, yep. I walked into that one,
mm-hmm.
And as what did you do? I cast Firebolt. The tent catches on fire. What do you do? I'm like, I guess lay there and die.
2 coppers? They'd have to pay me 2 coppers.
Yeah, no doubt.
Half orc? Ew.
Ooh. No death by snoo.
Half orcs. Next time I run a campaign world, there won't be any half orcs. I think the idea is kind of ludicrous. Having if the half orcs, the half orcs existence depends on orcs and humans getting it on, because ew.
It's a complete guide of unlawful carnal knowledge network from the link I posted earlier today. Okay.
There's also the Book of Unholy. What was it called? There was the
erotic fantasy.
There's the erotic fantasy,
yeah.
But there's 2 that Wizards of the Coast released, and one of them was the good guy book with angels and whatnot. The other one was
and then the other one was the Book of All Darkness.
Book of All Darkness. There you go.
Yeah. That was the Book of All Darkness was pretty tame, I thought.
Well,
And-
because they played it up to be all raunchy.
Yeah.
If I remember, they kind of made it seem like they had a disclaimer on it and stuff, and you're like, what are they doing? It's just demons.
There was a magazine excerpt in Dragon magazine where they had an article that was supposed to appear in the Book of All Darkness, but that was probably the best 6 or 3 pages that they had, and they put it in Dragon magazine instead.
Oh,
And I don't know why they just didn't put that in the Book of All Darkness. In fact, a lot of the DMs I knew at the time, they ripped that out of the magazine and stuffed it into the Book of All Darkness. It was actually pretty good.
I know in Jade's campaign, he was doing a mainly 3.5. His last one, it wasn't his last, but one he ran where he allowed the book of the Holy Book of Deeds or
Exalted Deeds.
Exalted Deeds, and my character became a saint in that campaign because I'm like, why not? But I didn't get any bonuses for becoming a saint. I just became a saint. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Lousy T-shirt. Wait, I don't want to see. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see a sex scene for a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Okay, it's already bad enough you're calling it a Dungeons and Dragons movie. It is a script. It was written by people. There were other people hired to read certain things and act a certain way. But now that is knowledge in my head, I don't want to know about it. I'm good.
you know, one of the things that Wizards of the Coast released that I actually found enjoyable were those. I don't remember if it was advertisement. No, it wasn't for third. It was, I think, for fourth or fifth. They had those little cartoons with a reporter who was talking to monsters.
Oh, I love those.
Those were well done.
Those.
They were well done.
I'm getting a lair.
And I'm going to name you Francis. Yeah, those were the best. I think I like the Russian
Succubus.
No, she was a half demon.
Chennari, Ellie Fiend.
Tiefling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I enjoyed her. I mean, and the Mind Flare when he was doing interviews.
Yeah. Yeah, those were good. The game wasn't good, but those were good.
If the Mind Flayer grabbed the reporter and started sucking his brains and then started broadcasting it to the viewer, that would be a true Mind Flayer, because that's how Mind Flayers entertain each other. They get an auditorium full of other Mind Flayers. They have somebody chained up at this table down here, and this guy comes up behind said captive, and he leans down and sticks all 4 tentacles in the orifices of the head of this person, and he starts to broadcast all the thoughts as he's eating them away. And that's what they consider to be good quality entertainment in a Mind Flayer town.
I don't know. It was definitely that was the early 2000s. I always thought it was kind of funny because it was early 2000s, because I was really big. I love Doctor Who. I've been watching it since a kid, and they had this monster come out, and it had tentacles, and they held a little ball. I think it was kind of oob or something. I'm like, that looks like a mind flare. And my brother Chris at the time was like, "What the fuck is a mind flare?" I'm like, threw in the dungeon, the monster manual. I'm like, go educate yourself. Which my mom was not happy with me after that.
Is this your younger brother or older brother?
I'm the oldest. This is my middle brother.
Okay.
Fucking Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is a witch. She is the witch. She is not a deity. She is not celestial. She is just an overpowered, scary ass witch that came out of Eastern Europe mythology.
Is she a hag?
She is like the mother of hags, but she's not really a hag. She is. Yeah, I mean, she's like the. You know what the Krampus is of German mythology?
Yeah, yeah.
She's
Trumpet,
like
the eater at Christmas.
yeah, the Krampus. If you're a bad child, the Krampus would come and get you, beat you with a bunch of sticks or whip you, then take you away and turn you into candy. Then, like the next day is Christmas, where all the good boys and girls were awarded with gifts.
Right. And
Uh,
he has Black Pete as a buddy,
yeah, yeah.
and he's gotten bad press here lately because of all the wokeness.
Actually,
Apparently.
about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a movie that came out called The Krampus. It was actually really, really good and really close to what the original mythology was.
There's also one called Exotic Imports or something like that. It's kind of a different kind of Santa Claus movie, but it's like Krampus in that Santa is an evil demon essentially, and he has a bunch of helpers that are just old men that
right.
collect children for him to eat, and so in the movie, all these old men running around who are kind of tough and don't talk, but like to eat stuff, so you can distract them with food, cookies especially, and so they were able to basically blow up the Krampus was buried a long time ago in a mountain in ice. He was contained by being frozen in ice. So this drilling company or mining company stumbled across the guy and released all of his old men elves, and then the elves started taking the people and killed all of them, and then the townspeople ended up being able to blow up Santa Claus, who was a big demon with horns. So he was thawed down to the point where his horns were sticking out. And then they cut off the horns and blew him up because got to have trophies. And then, but I thought it's a really great movie. It's not a Hollywood show, so
what's the name of it?
I'm trying to remember something exports. I'll have to find out the name and I'll post it in Discord.
By no means am I saying this is a good movie, but there was on the same theme of a Christmas fucked up Santa Claus. There was the pro wrestler Bill Goldberg played an evil Santa Claus. I thought was hilarious.
That's funny. I love Goldberg.
Rare Exports.
Rare Exports.
Rare Exports. It's a 2010 movie.
Okay.
RARE. Rare Exports. From 2010. It has subtitles because it's Norwegian. The depths of the Korvatunduri Mountains, wherever that is at. Can't even pronounce it.
See, my favorite foreign film is still Troll Hunter. Troll Hunter was really good, I thought. It's on damn near anything now. If you search hard enough, I think you could find it on Bing on a video search. But it's a older found footage movie where these people are hunting trolls and they find a real life troll hunter in Iceland.
Yeah, that was good.
That's like one of the best ones I've seen.
It has that kind of feel. It's not like a found footage movie, but it's offbeat. The movie I'm talking about is offbeat. It's not doesn't have the Hollywood formula really.
I think I've seen Troll Hunter because it's kind of filmed like the Blair Witch Project back in the day.
Yeah, that
but
is
better.
Film, but
yeah,
better.
Yeah. God, could you imagine doing that as a campaign? Just taking literally the story of Troll Hunter and turning it into a campaign for any system.
Yeah, you could do Monster of the Week.
Well, it would be great as a you're just regular dudes. Then all of a sudden you get kind of caught up in this troll thing, and then you as regular folk have to deal with it. As D&D characters, it would be just a Monster of the Week, like Bruce is saying. But it would be a lot funner, as a lot more fun as as a like a one shot kind of deal with
Well,
regular folk.
with my kids, I technically got three of them. The oldest is now 19, and my daughter is 11. And I'll run if they're with me on the holidays. They wanted me to run something for Christmas, so I did. I took the witches out of Crystal Straw, the 5e, who would make kidnap children and make them into dream pies, and I had them work for the Krampus. And Santa Claus has gone missing. It was a whole big setup, and they enjoyed it. I mean, it was. I ran it like they were with us for like 4 weeks. I probably ran it like for I don't know, nonstop for not nonstop, probably 5 days worth of gaming altogether.
That's cool.
I've always been, and I've said this here, and I said this in Table Breakers. I've always been a big fan of taking anything you watch, anything you read, or whatever, or listen to, and making it into a campaign, using that playground to build something off of.
Just grabbing some IP that you like.
Yeah, I mean, there's 101 games out there that do the same thing, from fucking Lord of the Rings to fucking Firefly and everything in between.
Well, there's good systems for that. Some generic systems. D&D might be that, but then you'd have to abandon the spell casters and whatnot and just use the bare bones mechanics. But
with new players, I like using just the bare bone mechanics. I don't want to overload them with fucking everything.
I'll be right back.
yeah, I think a good system to do in anything would be barring D&D as the bare bones.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Iron Man, rare exports, not imports. Oops. Got it backwards.
I don't know. Like I said, I like reading. I love. I mean, I hated it as a kid, but as an adult, I enjoyed finding time and listening or reading something that that grabs my interest. I think there's more entertainment to be found in a book than there is on TV these days.
If you can find, if you listen to podcasts or audio much, you can find old episodes of The Shadow.
Oh yeah.
It can be some fun, and there's old serials or old audio serials or old audio recordings of old serialized novels or books.
Oh yeah.
You can find all of the John Carter of Mars in audio on what's the name of it? It's online. I can't remember the name of the
I have Audible
outfit, but
right.
Well, yeah, that costs money for each book or whatever. But there's a free where you can get where there's a site where you can get audiobooks for free, but they're all or primarily the free ones are primarily public domain books. So you have all kinds of different kind of people doing the voices, and it's a mixed bag. But sometimes you get someone who does really well, and some of the older pulp fantasy or science fiction books, they're interesting. They're kind of weird, very different style from modern writing.
I had the opportunity not all that long ago, and I took it up, but I got to listen to the old World of the Wars, the original, when they broadcast on the
Worlds.
Yeah, that was just turn off, not off, turn off, not turn off all the lights, but make your living space.
The old radio broadcast.
Yeah, make it more suitable for what you're doing, and some of those are amazing. Audibles has what was it? Neil Gaiman's Sandman series, done the same way as a lot of those old radio serials.
Well, that's cool.
With a lot of famous actors as different voices, and it's amazing.
Right. I don't know what they did with War of the Worlds. I know they got yeah. Well, they got in trouble because people were stupid. Oh, it's real. Caused some panic. You shouldn't have got in trouble. Those people should have just got smacked in the head. What are you doing? Panicking over a radio program. But it was very well done at the time. So for them, I guess it just seemed real.
But yeah, anything like that, I think make great. I think make great campaigns. I've been joking around with a few buddies of doing a. Did you ever watch the TV show or movie Stargate?
Yes.
Turning that into a campaign.
Oh, sure. We've talked about different versions of that kind of thing.
Right.
Which there's Stargate. There's which is a version of Sliders.
Oh yeah, I love
Which
Sliders.
And there was another similar show to Sliders where they just hop between worlds for one reason or another. I can't remember how it worked. And then, but all of that is related to it's a theme.
Yeah.
And what's the one where it was just one dude? It was Scott Bakula.
Oh, Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. It's not precisely the same, but similar.
Yeah, but yeah.
So every week is a different dimension or world or time or something like that.
There's a few things about that show that drives me crazy as an adult, but
sure.
It's like there was an episode where he was in Peoria, Illinois at a radio, station. Well, come to find out that radio station never existed. So that was kind of a slap to the, just kind of slap to the
Makes you upset if that radio station had existed, but they never had those events happen like it was depicted in your 46-minute without commercial television viewing experience?
Yeah.
I mean, it happened in Peoria, which at the time Peoria was a happening AM and FM radio hub.
Whoa, wait, did it happen? Because the way I read it didn't.
It did not happen.
Yeah,
the events that took place there easily could be seen to have happening there in a historical perspective. Because back in the day, there was the saying, if it plays in Peoria,
it will play in it. Yeah.
And what was that situation, the fake situation?
He started playing, it was during civil rights era, and he started playing not Buck Cherry, Chuck Berry. Jesus.
Well, that works though. Even the mess up, there is a Buck Cherry.
Yeah, there is a band called Buck Cherry, but it was
yeah.
I just had the name mixed up. He was playing the Twist, or I think it was the Twist or something like that. And the people in the town were getting upset that he was playing black music on the radio station where think about the children. And it was a whole thing like that, which, I could very much see something like that happening. But I don't know. It didn't at all. Peoria has never been exactly known for being the more highlighted, high ground town. And this was supposed to be.
At the same time,
we've
had Elvis Presley. We've had all kinds of different music like that. Jerry Lee Lewis was very risque for his time, and nobody panicked over it except for some preachers getting people hot under the collar. But I mean,
I think the difference was the one singer was an African American and Elvis is white.
Yeah, but they said the same kind of music.
Yeah.
Governors of America. That better than the NRA.
Much better.
The NRA are activists.
This is the fresh roasted coffee that I drink. No compromise.
Yes, Chubby Checker.
That's what it was.
Chubby Checker was the twist.
Yeah.
Come on, baby. It's good stuff. And lots of people liked it. White people too. Lots of white people liked it.
Chunkloads
so. As much as people want to complain about the past being so racist, there were lots of people who were not. Lots of people who were. Yes, and Shadzar also pointed out that was Orson Welles, and he did the whole thing.
Yeah. He was a great oratorialist.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
In the performance arena. I don't know about.
Chuck Berry was my ding-a-ling. Yeah, I love that. I love singing that song in high school because it got me in trouble a lot, but they couldn't really do anything about it because it's about pretense. It's not like I was singing Billy Squire, Stroke It.
Stroke Me. The Stroke,
The Stroke, yeah.
which wasn't about what you think it's about. It's about corporate corruption.
Yeah.
It was about money, not about masturbation.
So, thinking I've always been that kind of a special asshole that just likes to ruffle people's feathers.
Right.
So
once again, we are off gaming.
Yeah, but
That's fine. We are going to talk about things around various things. Somebody was bitching about the fact that they were having to watch me paint my minis, and so like, all right, fine, make this paid for fucking video.
I think "paint your mini" might have been a stand-in for another phrase, considering the topic at hand was a bit sexual. So
I will have to actually. I know you. I will have to try that coffee. I'm not using that as a plug, but I will definitely have to try that coffee. I'm on Death Wish right now.
I know, and people that are on limited funds, get your stuff from your store. But if you have extra money, I know a lot of people don't right now. They're complaining economic hardships. I get it, but I can get you your blackout coffee cheaper, and if you like it a lot, I can get you a code where you can get it 15% cheaper if you really like it. But you got to fucking take the drugs first, kids. I know some people don't like coffee.
I'm not a coffee drinker. I love it. I love it. The smell of it roasting, the smell of it percolating.
Oh my god,
brewing up. That's wonderful.
The better smell is when you first get up in the morning and you grind the beans yourself. Like if you wake up before your wife, like you wake up and you make her the beans that she wants and make the grounds yourself. Like you can enjoy the coffee by getting hit by that whiff of air as you mash them into bits in the grinder.
Right.
You uncap it and put those in the little either filter, or I've got a steel filter. That way I don't have to have paper filters because I can just wash it. And it comes out. Actually, you get a better taste.
Is it steel or is it copper?
It's steel.
Oh, okay. I've seen copper.
I do. I'll do the drip. I think drip leaves the oil still in there, and I like it.
Yeah, it's the same thing as that. I mean, it's the $12 coffee maker from Walmart. The piece of shit $12 coffee maker.
Oh, I get you. I
can do AeroPress or any of that other stuff, but I'd rather not.
Fucking
French coffee. I kill them fast. About 3 hours later, I'm out of coffee.
Yeah, my wife is the only coffee drinker, but she limits herself because if she drinks too much coffee, it messes with her meds and stuff. So she only drinks one cup of coffee, maybe two, on a rare occasion. So we can't make a pot of coffee. We have to use the Keurig thing.
Yeah,
which I hear a lot of coffee snobs are like, that's not coffee.
It's coffee. They just need to get off their fucking high horse.
It's not my thing. I don't like the Keurig, but I'm not like some assholes that are like, I can taste the plastic. No, I can't. I just like grinding the beans up myself and then doing it, and let it take 4 or 5 minutes to steep and prepare. I'm okay with that.
It's a morning ritual too.
Yeah.
Morning ritual. You clear your mind, all that kind of frou-frou stuff.
Go take a healthy poop.
So for I think that Bruce has a campaign not this coming Saturday but next Saturday, right?
I won't be running it the next Saturday because my parents will be in town, and no offense, guys, I haven't seen them in about 3 years. So
no, that's fine. That's cool. I have found that if I want to stay up for an 8-hour gaming session, I found the cure. I know how to do it now. I get a monster. I get the monster coffees. I personally like the Irish coffee. I pour half of it into my Death Wish coffee. I'm awake for the rest of the year.
See, Death Wish is good for if you need to stay up. If you are either going to drink Death Wish coffee or put coffee grounds in between your cheek and your gums, I'd go with the Death Wish coffee. But there's really not much of a taste difference.
Death Wish.
Yes.
I mean, do you drink it to keep you up, or does it taste good too?
It tastes good. It has a really
Okay.
nice taste to it. I like the roast, deep roast. I mean, historically, I'm a tea person, but tea won't keep me awake. Coffee will, though.
The bitter bits of coffee and tea keep me from liking them.
Oh, I can't drink coffee straight. I have to put like a little bit of milk and sugar in it, or I won't be able to drink it.
I drink coffee black, but I'm also a very horrible asshole.
So, Shadzar brings up a good point. Speaking of coffee and gaming, because gaming, how many people have Mexico or an analog in their game worlds to have coffee, or where does it come from? Do you even worry about that, or do you just say you have it and not worry about it?
Typically, like the areas where the players are adventuring right now, they're literally about 150 miles away from the Primo Valley. That would be great for coffee ground. But right now, there's some giants that are in that area, so there's not going to be any coffee grown there, and there will be a coffee shortage in my world. But the game world they're at, the equator is at the southern portion of the map, and there's a whole other continent down there that nobody has explored supposedly. So the world will never know. But I use a few of the southern climates areas that are perfect for it, and you've seen that map in my front room, right, Joe?
Probably. I don't remember it, but I probably have seen it on a stream here or there.
Yeah, there's a wall tapestry I have with the game world map, and every hex is 50 miles. So I mean, it's a big map. It's like 6, 7 feet, 8 feet across. I think it's crazy.
Right. Right. Well, the northern temperate climates all had tea before they had coffee because that's what grew there. Coffee has to grow in the really hot places, right?
Yes, to my knowledge, it has to.
Let's see my campaign.
Unless you have some sort of weird dwarven underground variety of coffee bean.
With dwarf
coffee fungus.
Well, you could do it. You could do an underground fungus that would be at like a magma trail, and it would be just sitting there growing abundantly because of the heat and the light and getting all what it would need. It would have a funky flavor to it, much like a underground fungus or mushroom would have.
Yeah, any fungus.
But it could be cultivated to have the caffeine like structure where it would keep somebody awake.
And people will drink it because in our world, people will drink coffee beans that come out of monkey butt. So
cat
butt.
Is a monkey or a cat?
I think it's a monkey.
A monkey's butt. There's a monkey's butt coffee.
Monkey butt coffee. I don't know what.
I know there was a cat one. I know there was a cat one too. So that's what threw me off.
Yeah, the fermentation through the monkey stomach is so good.
That's
good. I'm so fucking good without that coffee.
Yeah,
I can live my entire life without having it. No one actually in my campaigns have ever asked if coffee was ever an option. But if somebody ever did, I'd say, well, next time you were in a big enough city, you would have to buy X amount there to travel with. And the gnomes, them being, because no one plays gnomes anymore. I very few people play gnomes, and even they can't. I've never actually. No, I haven't seen anybody play a gnome in a long ass time. The gnomes, with their ADD, they make coffee.
Gnomes are short dwarves.
The fact that the chat here knows the process for how these are made makes me a little bit disturbed. That's fine. I'll be disturbed.
Yeah, I don't like coffee anyway. Having it have passed through the intestines of an animal
it's just a hard
deal breaker, an additional deal breaker, shall we say?
I know of a few mushroom based teas out there. I've never drank them, but I spend like my professional life in the culinary arts world where I will look in. I'm reading the chat where I have seen people drink mushroom teas. I don't know if they're good, they're bad, but they do exist.
Yeah, I'm all right not knowing much more than the fact they exist. I'm perfectly fine.
I like mushrooms. Don't get me wrong, but there's only so many things mushrooms belong on or in.
There's a really fine pizza joint in New Braunfels called Callahan's Pub, and he has a butcher block pizza with all the proper bits of pig and cow that you want to have on there: prosciutto, pepperoni, a little bit of beef slices, and he has a style of mushroom that he gets from HEB. They put on the butcher block pizza, and it absolutely has a fusion. I'm just saying, if you guys have a butcher block pizza available where you're at, try that out.
Never heard of that one. Is it a pizza shop or is it a brand of pizza you can just buy at the store frozen?
A butcher block pizza is typically like a pizza that's got like 5 or 6 pig and cow meats on it. Like one down here, they will put like four varieties of pig, and they'll put a couple varieties of cow on there, and along with the pepperoni. So you'll have like bits of fajita slices or skirt steak, and then you'll have the prosciutto, and you'll have other bits of sausage and other things like that. But it's a real fantastic pizza. But I'm just saying, I know that eventually somebody from San Antonio is going to be like, New Braunfels, Callahan's Pub. I know where that is, and they'll go over there and find a new fucking food desire.
So going back into gaming somewhat and cooking, sure, why not? Let's double dip, because we've done that basically with everything from electric cars to sinking ships, and that could be a campaign. How to save your your ship is on fire. What do you do?
There's actually one of the best games I ever played that was a throwaway $20 box game at Washington Store, the game room, called Blue November, I believe is what it was called, and you were playing these gnomes these communist gnomes were on a submarine where all the parts were falling apart and the bolts were coming out and the sub was starting to flood. And you had to take breaks on certain turns. You had to drink. And you had to, instead of saving the ship or like plugging holes or some such like that, you're slamming vodka. And so it was a kind of a cute game, but I've never seen anybody ever beat the game and win. It's a lot like Pandemic in that aspect.
I could just
Shadow and Sun, I'm in Texas, and then the Cigar DM is over in Central Illinois.
I can just see that campaign. I kind of have that scene from Armageddon with the Bruce Willis, where you have that guy who always plays the Russian, no matter. I don't even think he is Russian. I don't think he's American, but I'm almost pretty sure he's not Russian. Where he's young, Russian components, American components, bam, 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 all made in Taiwan.
All made in Taiwan. Yeah.
You talking about the movie Reds?
No, I'm talking about the movie Armageddon.
Armageddon, yeah. Now D&D versions, like a D&D version of that would be human having what you said, gnome, a communist gnome, human components, dwarf components, bam, 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 all made in the water deep.
Could see that. I can see that.
I realize I'm partly to blame for the rambling, but
Robbie Coltrane, yeah, he plays a great Russian though.
Yeah, is he British? Yeah, he's British. I never thought he was British because he's in the Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, and
He's in the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, he plays a nihilist. He plays one of the biker guys.
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen it. It's not one of my favorites anyway.
Yeah, he was also in constant. Well, how do you say?
Okay, that's not Robbie. That's not Robbie Coltrane.
I'm not going. I don't know. It's been a while since.
Okay. Let's just. Maybe they have similar names. The guy who played Hagrid in the Harry Potter movies, who also played a Russian spy in some of the 007 movies.
Yeah, no, not that guy. Not that guy. I
might be thinking of okay. His name might not be Robbie Coltrane, but that's who I thought.
He played a Russian in the John Wick movies. Hey guys, I need to step out for a moment. I'll be right back.
No,
When you come back, bring the name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I will.
but I'm pretty sure it's Robbie something or other. The fella I'm talking about, Hagrid.
I've
Hey.
never watched a Harry Potter film, so or read any of their books.
I read it. I read all of them and watched all of them.
Now, Shadzard's saying, and I probably believe this because Satan and Constantine is the same guy from Armageddon.
Okay. Rubius Hagrid is played by. Come on. Come on.
Your internet is wow.
Mine is not good.
It used to be. Oh wait, you're clear now.
What happened?
Earlier you were pixelated.
Oh, that's no good.
I haven't looked up.
Yeah,
the
Robbie
screen.
Coltrane. Say
Okay.
the name of the guy.
Okay.
So I remember the right name. Maybe there's no way there's two actors with the same name. They usually like put hyphens in there or extra initials or stuff like that.
Usually.
When was I pixelated?
About 20 minutes ago.
Was I like constantly pixelated for a while, or?
It looked like you were pixelated for a bit there, for about a good 5 or 6 seconds at least.
Oh,
I went back down and started painting again.
Huh.
Peter Stormare, yeah, he was one of the nihilists. He's in everything now. One of the topics I want to talk about, but we didn't really go over this, and I don't know if it's a good time to bring it up, but has video games ruined your table? Has video games affected your table so much that the conventions in the video games are almost foisted upon the DM?
no.
And-
But
No?
this is why. When so we're a bunch of old folks. We even joke about when we retire, we're just going to go around to the various restaurants getting our senior meals and playing D&D and throwing dice at the people. But when fourth edition was being talked about, we all immediately recognized that it was a MMORPG port into the tabletop, which is weird because all fantasy computer games are ports of D&D into the computer world. So
Yeah.
it's just a vicious circle. But yes, we were all like, we don't want any part of that. So I know we do talk about how it might be possible to get something from a video game and port some kind of concept from the video games from a video game or whatever into your game without turning your game into a video game. You might be able to do that. But and there's a fella that calls calls characters toons because of video games. But I don't think that video games have been a detriment. I think some mentalities that third edition and Pathfinder have fostered that has probably like the rolling the dice first before anything else for skill checks like we were talking about earlier.
I rolled a 20. Oh, here's what I do.
Right. And or I rolled a 20 on my knowledge check. What do I know? And that kind of mentality came out of third edition. I can't say that exactly that third edition and Pathfinder even said that was the way to do it, but that's where it went, one way or the other.
Yeah, I have that problem at my table with one of my players. He thinks that he gets instant recall. I rolled a 38 on my knowledge planes. What do I know about these things? Well, you'll know everything. It's just going to take you a few minutes to recover all the knowledge if you want to sit down and think about it. By the way, it's Barb Stinger is coming towards you right now. You want to sit down and think about it, or do you want to evade it in combat and discover the intricacies of life later?
Right. I mean, it'd be one thing. I don't mind. I can see a usefulness for that kind of thing. But yeah, in the heat of the moment, are you really going to be able to recall that?
Yeah, in the heat of the moment, I don't give them all the information. They just rolled, supposedly.
Right. I mean, you see that kind of thing in movies too. You're like, oh, they're like when they were in the Ghostbusters when they were fighting the chick. But it was after a back and forth, a little bit of a back and forth. They were like, okay, we got to cross the streams. So in a game, it's possible for you to have made a few actions and in utter futility, and then you're like, well, what are we going to do? And maybe the DM throws you a bone and makes you do a skill check to give you a clue, and then you do something. But that probably comes after some rounds, and maybe you have an opportunity to stand back and take a breather before the bad guy gets ready to pummel you, and then you cross the streams and send them back to hell or whatever.
Yeah.
What did I come across? I'm sorry, I just popped back.
We were talking about skill checks in the heat of combat, and what should they glean you?
I have to say one thing about Shadar, and this is a compliment. He is a good person for information. Holy shit! Because I was looking for the guy Peter Stormare, or however you say his name.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Swedish actor. He was in Armageddon. He's been in a shitload of movies.
Oh,
he's
character actor.
Yeah, he's not Russian, but they've always, it's like, can you do a Russian accent? It's like, I don't know. I'll try to do a Russian. Hey, that's Romanian. What the fuck? But he'll do it.
Most people won't know. Guaranteed.
I know. Yeah, I got to try. I was lucky enough in my early years where my aunt thought the best education. My grandparents were the same way. Best education there was to travel, to see the world. And I've got to see more of the world than most people, and I don't mean that to be snobbish. I mean, you guys done service, so you get.
I've been to Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but no, as a teenager, going to places like Italy or Russia, and actually hear the accents for yourself. I can like, that guy doesn't exactly sound Russian, but they use them for everything.
Right. And I don't when you're watching a movie, if it sounds Russian-ish,
Everything, yeah. No, Shadow and Sons. I have traveled a lot too. It does. I always feel sorry for people who are raised in a small town. Not the small town being the issue, but thinking that the next town is just too far over. The state is far too far over.
I have that problem with a lot of people because being from Decatur, Illinois, you're 36 miles away from Springfield, Illinois, which has a vastly superior amount of places to be at and enjoy and spend your money for good time. If you don't have a good time already available in Decatur, Illinois, because maybe your friends don't live there anymore, it's a lot of people like I know, or if they've closed down your favorite bar or the place burned down or whatever, you would go to Springfield. But trying to get other people, hey, let's go to Springfield, let's go to Darcy's Pub, and then after that we'll hit one of the other bars. And they would look at me like, are you crazy? And they act like that's on the other side of the world. And it's not on the other side of the world, but it is a 40-minute trip.
Yeah, it's out of the comfort zone.
That 40-minute trip, it's easy. You're there, and you have the oyster. You have what you came for. And so I hate whenever I'm trying to talk to somebody and say, hey, let's go and do this. And some people in San Antonio have never been to the other side of the city. They've never been. There's like 7 or 8 zip codes here. Maybe there's 12. I don't know. But
San Antonio, when I was there, was what I liked about it. It had a big town mentality, but spread out without being congested.
I love places like that. They might not be as big as your major city, but there's enough there that's spread out that makes up for it. Yeah, I have to drive. It's Nashville, Tennessee. and that surrounding everything's about 45 fucking minute drive from Nashville, but it's all fucking worth it.
And I love Tennessee because you can do all sorts of things there, but like the vibe in Memphis versus Nashville versus Knoxville,
Yeah,
completely different.
Yeah, and I like that when it comes back to gaming, because going back to gaming is I had a character, I have a player in my campaign. He's like, I'm playing this. Why would my character ever leave he's a wizard. He is a wizard. Why would I ever leave my lab? I'm like, because, and I was like joking, is because you slept with the wrong guy's daughter and he got chased out.
Also, you will never get anything beyond first level spells in
Right.
your lab.
Yeah, if you're a wizard, your spell book does not magically appear with new spells. You need to find scrolls or do the work.
And that's the thing. It seems like as GMs, we're all talking about how we like the idea of players not knowing everything, especially in the lower levels, where they need to go find somebody who has, and they can help map them a way to succeed. And it can be a quickened way to succeed if you follow this wizard's advice. He'll take it about 1 to 4 weeks for you to get your level up, versus if you're going to do it yourself, it'll take you 3 to 6 months.
Right.
How do you want me to roll this die for? Will it represent 1 to 4 weeks? Or are you going to do it yourself 3 to 6 months? You be the arbiter. You have enough money to make you last about 12 weeks total.
I've never been a huge token fan, and I will criticize token in gameplay all the time because I'm just so fucking tired of token in a lot of different ways. But I have to say, The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins leaving his house because of the contract. I'm not talking about the movies. I'm talking about the book. Because the spark, the absolute spark of what's over the hill was lit in him, and he did that. That makes great campaigns. That makes great stories because you don't know what's over the other side of the hill.
Yeah.
And I mean, 5e, Pathfinder, all these systems have their issues. All of them. There's not a system out there that doesn't have their issue. It's just what you're willing to play with, play in. But exploring and finding out, it really is the best thing about RPG.
Exploring the unknown is adventure.
But as long as the system drives the player out of their comfort zone to go see what's over the hill, I'll run any system out there. I will play in any system out there as long as they inherit that aspect. Iron Kingdom, we don't talk about Iron Kingdom enough. I think we should. Iron Kingdom needed a better editor, but that's besides the point. I thought, there's a train system that will take you north, west, south, and east. And as a new, maybe I want to see the frozen north. Maybe I want to see whatever. And just to go do it. And you find trouble. You don't always have to look.
Adventure.
Yeah. You don't have to look. Sometimes you don't have to look for trouble. Trouble will find you.
Yeah.
And I'm getting excited. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, what we need to do is find a way to segue to an end. I have to work in the morning.
I'm sorry.
And no. I was wanting to find some place we could tie a bow in this. We're a little past 2 hours, which is good. I know Shadow and Son just got here, and I'm sorry about that. But this is not going to be a long one. If this was a Friday night or a next day work night for me, I'm on the Eastern time zone, so it's going on 11. And I get up at 6:30, so I need some sleepy time.
Understandable. I'm an old man too.
Yes,
I'm not, but I don't sleep much anyways. So that's besides the point for me.
Right. So I'm going to go around and get some last thoughts, starting with Cigar DM.
I know this is going to be repeated by Bruce here in a second. We have the Table Breakers chat tomorrow. Where we will be talking about interesting things, and I think everybody should come join us tomorrow. And my words of wisdom is: do your homework in the dark and always eat your cereal with a fork.
Alrighty then, Bruce.
For those of you that
Cigar DM. I'm sorry, Bruce. Cigar. Are are you any closer to doing your own thing yet? Or-
Yes, I've actually took some time today and figured out how to do it. I think I'm going to have to do the program, this StreamYard for it to work on my laptop for any videos because it's not liking it any other way I've tried. So
Okay.
that will be my next one. But yeah, expect to hear some rambling from me here soon.
Okay, good deal. All right, Bruce.
Tomorrow night, Table Breakers, we're going to be discussing various things to do about intra-party politics in the game and how to wrangle players to have their characters actually move a story forward without the cooperation of each other, and how to have individual goals and possible motivations not quite cooperate with a party, and how it can be used to make a game better, and how to not walk away from the table hating that guy that just pissed you off, because that really is the goal of the game, is to have everybody enjoy themselves enough that they wait till they can't see each other. They cannot wait to see each other at the table yet again. That's how you know when you have a great game going on, is when you set the time and date and the players become absolutely addicted to the idea of getting their asses back in that seat to play that character in that campaign again. That's how you know you're doing a good job as a DM. And as much as other people have other theories on things, I'm right and they're wrong.
All righty then.
All right.
All righty then. So everybody subscribe to Bruce Lombardo of Dick's Division. You can find him on YouTube. Cigar DM, his thing is yet to be determined. Correct?
Right, but I'll make it work. You'll
Yeah.
hear from me soon.
You have, like everyone here has, you have an account
Yes.
on YouTube, but no content yet.
I have no contact. Actually,
And is your new thing going to still be Cigar DM?
yeah, give me. I know I posted it somewhere. Where did I post it, Bruce?
I don't know. Did you post it in my Discord? Yeah, I know you posted it somewhere. Either my Discord or Gatekeepers, or no, check the Table Breakers Discord.
Yep. Give me a hot second, and I will.
Right. Okay. And my name is, as everyone can see here, is Joe, and my normal podcast YouTube thing is Biggest Geekus. We are on weekly. We just had an episode last night. So please, if you haven't watched or listened and subscribed, please do so.
Thank you so much, Joe, for inviting us on.
Oh, no problem. We will be. I'll be putting some links in the show notes if you guys want to send me stuff to post there, or you could just post them in the comments after the fact.
You guys want really good coffee? Joe has my link for you.
Yes.
I posted it over in the private chat. I think that's the address. Or I did it wrong. One of the two.
Thank you, Shadow and Sun, for subscribing.
Over to Bruce. Good deal. Because I think he already subscribed to us. He showed up one of our podcasts, one of our live streams, and yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So for us here at Gatekeepers, for Cigar DM and Bruce, I thank everyone who's here in chat and who gave us some good info and kept the chat going. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you, Cigar DM. Thank you, Bruce. And this is Joe from Biggest Geekus and Gatekeepers signing off. Have a good night.